Well, hi, good evening. It's really cold in my car. I took my coat off because I thought it would be all rustly. And obviously, I'm all about the production values, but I'm now really cold. However, I just came out the cinema. I've been to see a film. I'm really excited and cold. Okay, yeah, so I went to see a film. My local Odeon, which is over here, reopened today. It closed when we went into lockdown 2, lockdowner. So that was the beginning of November, and even when we came out of that lockdown and Northamptonshire went into tier 2, these are all things I would not have said last December. Yeah, even when we went into tier 2, this particular Odeon didn't reopen immediately, but now it has today. So obviously, I was straight in there, whoosh, straight from work into a 5 p.m. screening of Wonder Woman 84. Is that what we're calling it? WW84? Wonder Woman 1984? I'm not entirely sure. Did I like it? Did I like it? I liked it a lot. God, I'm excited. It was that whole thing all over again. I didn't realise how much I'd missed the cinema until I was in there. I did a little bit of catch up this week, a little bit of homework, and I watched Wonder Woman, the first one from 2017, which I had seen before but didn't remember particularly well. So I revisited that ahead of seeing this. I'm really glad I did because it put me in like the right mindset to come and see this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think and I want to say Gadot, and then there's a part of me that's like, is it Gadot? It can't be. It must be Gadot. But is it the Scarlett Johansson thing where it's definitely Johansson? I don't know. So I'm gonna go with Gadot. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is beyond perfect. I mean, for starters, just the most incredibly beautiful woman in the world. I just really like her in the role. I really believe her in the role. I think she's sort of grown into it a little bit, so it was really nice to see her playing Diana Prince or Wonder Woman again, but in a completely different setting. Because obviously, the first film you find her in our home, and then she goes off to fight with Chris Pine's Steve Trevor, and they go off to fight Nazis and David Thewlis. So yeah, to see her play Wonder Woman again, but now in a completely different setting, was a lot of fun. The 1980s setting brings me all the joy. Like, I am loving the whole nostalgic 80s thing. We've had Stranger Things, and I talked about the 80s vibes when I went to see Blinded by the Light, the film about the Pakistani boy in Luton with his love of Bruce Springsteen, and just anything that really, really embraces everything that the 80s was. I'm there for it. And this film did it wonderfully. So there's a brilliant action set piece. Obviously, I'm not going to do spoilers, but there's a brilliant action set piece quite early on in the film, pretty much after the beginning bit. And it's set in a mall, and straight away it put me back in that Stranger Things, the most recent series of that, which was obviously set, there was a lot of stuff around a mall, and it made me think of things like Blues Brothers, where there's the car chase in the mall, just that 1980s mall, that when we used to see America of the 80s, America, and every, all that Dynasty, Dallas, big hair, big shoulder pads, that was my first impression of America, I guess, from TV I watched as a kid. So it really gives me the feels to see it back again. And it was just executed so beautifully. The fashion and the hair, and the fact that if it's sort of proof of her iconic stylishness. It's really articulate, Katie. But even when she's in the 80s garb, Gal Gadot manages to look like the most phenomenal thing you've ever seen. Like, even when she's wearing 80s clothes, she looks the best in any 80s clothes that anybody has ever. I think I've got like a massive crush on her. My God, what a woman. The film also stars Kristen Wiig, who I absolutely adore. I think she's a phenomenally talented comic actress, and she's very, very good in this. It was directed by, I'm all over the place because I'm just really excited. It was directed by Patty Jenkins, who directed the first one, and I'm all about the wonderfulness of female directors getting to do these big budget, big comic book movies. I think it's a massive step in the right direction. So I'll be honest, I didn't actually know that she was directing the sequel, and when I saw her name at the beginning of the film, I was overjoyed. She also worked on the screenplay with Jeff Johns, who is a big DC writer, and there was another name for screenplay that I didn't clock, so apologies to that person. And I'm sure all their contributions were wonderful. But yeah, it was really fun, and then it got quite serious. It embraced its 80s setting, and it had a lot of fun with it, and then the 80s setting made a lot of sense in where the plot went in terms of where the world was at globally and where America was at in its relationship or lack thereof with Russia. That becomes quite a big plot point. So the 1980 setting made sense for the story, not just as an excuse to have shoulder pads and permed hair. And it was really well put together. It was well paced. Like I say, there was quite a lot of laughs to be had quite early on, but then once it got into the sort of meat of the story and the action of the story, it did sort of become a bit more serious. But what I really liked about it was some of the other DC movie adaptations have suffered. Like when I'm thinking of stuff like the Superman with Henry Cavill, and then Batman versus Superman or Superman versus Batman, I forget which way around it was, which she was in as well as Wonder Woman. They're just all a bit dark and a bit like a bit weighty, whereas this was brightly coloured and fun. And yes, there was with the villain and the way the story went, it did get quite dark in places, but it was just nice to see that strong female central performance. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it felt like a comic book film, of course it did, but it also felt very different to the Marvel stuff. Previously I've found DC film adaptations feel different to the Marvel stuff in that the Marvel stuff is largely great and the DC stuff isn't always. I'm not including Christopher Nolan's Batman stuff when I talk about DC film adaptations because they're the nuts, obviously. But like I say, more the Superman, Batman, the Suicide Squad, Abomination. So this was great. It was fun, it was funny, it was brightly coloured. She was absolutely perfect in the central role. The supporting cast were great. A lot to like. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Totally took me out of myself, away from everything. All these lights behind me make it look like aliens are coming to get me, but it's just car headlights. And it was just good to be back. I don't know what I'm coming to see next, because I think releases are going to sort of trickle out. They're showing a lot of Christmas films at the minute. And I saw trailers for stuff that's to come. I saw a Black Widow trailer, which obviously has been postponed, and we'll hope. And I felt like every film I saw a trailer for, like Black Widow and Bond, it would say like opening in, like there was a Fast 9, Fast and Furious 9, Fast 9, the Fast Saga. They're very silly films, aren't they? But there was an advert for one of them, a trailer for one of them, and it was like February 2021, and I felt like it should have brackets after it that said hopefully or maybe. Fingers crossed. But yes, good to be back in my beloved cinema, in my happy place. And yeah, go and see Wonder Woman 84, because you know cinemas need support and you need a break. Whoever you are watching this, I'm sure you need to go and do something fun. If you're watching this and you're in tier 3, I'm really sorry. My profuse apologies. Not my fault you're in tier 3, but you can't go to the cinema and see Wonder Woman, and for that I am sad. But when you do get the chance, when they do reopen cinemas where you are, or when you move down a tier, please do go and see it. Okay, that's it. Katie out.